Hello again, it's Marilyn Hawes here with Unprecedented TV and for my show Heart and Soul, and you can find us on Unprecedented TV on YouTube. I'm also CEO of Freedom from Abuse, which is an organisation seeking to stop, prevent, be aware and identify grooming and child abuse, but also any abuse that's going on in society today. And it's actually increasing, not getting better. But for Heart and Soul, I invite anyone who's got an interesting job or a lived experience that they want to get out there because no one wants to listen to them. And so many people in society want to forget other people's reality. And I think by coming on for 50 minutes and giving it some oxygen, it allows people to think, you know what, I hadn't thought of it that way. Or I thought that job would be dreadful, but I'm really pleased I've learned something. And then for some of these topics, the dark and gritty ones, I want to kick the elephant out the room. But I don't want to do that today. I want to bring the elephant into the room because I have got the wonderful James Woodworth, who is consultant with the Thrive program, something I'm passionate about. Hello, James. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. It's lovely to see you again.
Really lovely to see you. Now, people listening, James and I go back, over 10 years, I would think, probably 15 years. And I briefly want to say why I know James. I got no shame in telling you. And why I'm here today is because of James and the Thrive program. So very briefly, I had severe mental health issues after my children were sexually abused, and the domestic abuse, etc., was awful. And one day, I had 8 NHS therapists, none of whom could help me, and a psychotherapist couldn't help me. And I thought, right, that's it, there's no help. And one day I was driving across Hertfordshire, and I was going down a ziggy-zaggy hill, and I saw a lorry coming, and I thought, I'm going to drive into the lorry. And just as I was going to, I turned the wheel and stopped. I rang and rang home. My husband came to get me, went home, and there was James sat in my kitchen. And I was shaking, and James said, oh, gosh, what's wrong with you, sort of thing. We had a very quick chat. And he said, what did you not think about the lorry driver? I said, good Lord, no. Why would I? And James said, oh, gosh, you're bad. I can help you. I'm a consultant, not a therapist, a consultant with the Thrive program. Let me help. And I went, you can't help. No one's helped me. NHS can't help me. No one's helped me. Please will you give me a try? So after, I think it was 6 90-minute sessions and a book that he had, not to read, but an exercise book, within 2 weeks of being with James, I had begun to lighten up and change. By the end of it, you're looking at the person today. I've only blipped once in that 15 years. Once did I ever call James. And it's like osmosis. I have no idea how it works, but I am a very proud ambassador of this organization because this is the way to go. If you have any problems with phobias, addiction, mental health, I hand over to James, who's going to tell us all about what the Thrive program is. Why does it exist? And what is different, James, if you can start off with, why are you different from psychotherapy and counselling, both of which I had, which failed?
Okay, well, thanks very much, Marilyn. So again, as you quite rightly said, I'm a coach. I'm a Thrive program coach. I'm not a psychotherapist or counsellor. So I've had no training in those particular interventions. But when I talk about being a coach, I'm really positioning myself as a coach educator. So I come from a background in education and learning. And what I see myself doing really is sort of enabling the people I work with so they learn how to create what it is they say they want. So it is very much an educative process. Comparing it to therapy can be a little bit difficult because it really depends what kind of psychotherapy we're talking about. So as you know, there are lots of different schools of psychotherapy, so we have to be mindful of that. But I think what's important to understand that as coaches, we don't pathologize the people we're working with, and we don't focus on symptoms either. I'm not saying that that's problematic or wrong. It's just a distinction, I think, that can be made between coaching and therapy. So with coaching, it's really about empowering the individual to learn what it is they need to know to be able to get the results they're looking for.
That's
So
great.
it's all about the work that you do. So although it's really, it's really touching to hear you talk about what I did for you, but it's really important to understand, Marilyn, that I did very little. You did the work. No, seriously, you did the work. You were a fantastic client. You took full ownership of the program. You took responsibility for your recovery. And that's why you got thriving, because of the excellent attitude you had towards doing the work that you had to do. So as a coach, I was really just guiding you. I was facilitating you. But you actually took full responsibility and did the work. So it was your excellent mindset that was so important, as it
Thank
is
you.
with all of our clients, actually.
Yeah. Because I know I have sent people to you who have the angst after having been sexually abused, and it's helped some of those clients enormously, and they're where they never thought they would be. So it's not just me. I've seen people I've referred to you. Now, let me just briefly say what impressed me was when we first spoke, you said to me, well, I know what's happened. I know you've got mental health issues. And I remember going to some guy in Harley Street, and he told me I had a shopping addiction, if you remember. And you said to me, that's utter rubbish. Explain what an addiction is and how you can think differently about it.
Well, okay, so that's an interesting one, because it really depends on how you define addiction. So I suspect that most people would define addiction as a form of compulsive behavior over which they have no control. So when they feel the desire or the compulsion to engage in the behavior, they do so believing that there's nothing they can do to stop themselves from doing that, as if they've got no power or control over the desire or over the compulsion. So really what we encourage people to understand is that you have a lot more power than you give yourself credit for, and that actually, that desire isn't happening to you, that compulsion isn't happening to you. It's something that you're experiencing for sure. But if you actually understand that you have strategies, then we show people strategies and give them resources and work that they can do to act upon those desires. In other words, that's a belief. If you actually believe you have an addictive personality, if you believe there's nothing you can do to counteract or deal with the desire you feel, then you're going to act upon it and carry through with the behavior.
Because I think you've given yourself permission. That's how I felt when this therapist in Harley Street, actually, so it's not just the NHS, it was a private one, said to me, well, you have an addictive personality and you actually have general anxiety disorder. And I went, oh, wow, I've got a reason for this now. So after meeting you, I realized that what I'd been doing was living to those labels. And what I loved when I spoke to you and first met you, you said to me, this is utter nonsense. What you believe is what you feel and do. What you feel and do is what you believe. And it's a circle. And when we had the first incident, you explained to me, and if you could explain to the listening people, you explained about your locus of control and what's it, and your internal.
Yes. We all have a locus of control, which is a psychological concept where locus just means the center or the point of. So I think an easier way to understand it, if we replace the word locus with location, so think of it as location of control. So when it comes to your behavior, when we start to think about what compels us to behave the way that we do, where is that compulsion understood to be? Where does it originate? Does it originate in the external world, in which case we believe it's happening to us and that there's nothing much we can do about that because it's happening to us? Or does that compulsion originate within us? Because if it originates within us and we can take ownership of it, then we're far more likely to believe that we can do something about it. So everybody has a locus of control, but that locus of control will either be external or internal. So if you have an external locus of control, you believe that external forces which are out there in the environment are effectively driving your behavior. So my behavior, let's say, if I had an external locus of control, I might believe that my behavior is being influenced by the environment, being influenced by other people, being influenced by the past, being influenced by whatever. But these are also factors, if you like, which I have no control over. I have no control over what I experienced in the past. I've got no control necessarily over the environment or what other people are doing. And so if I believe that my behavior, let's say, or my beliefs or my feelings are being controlled by factors over which I have no control, then I will also come to the assumption that there's nothing I can do about my thoughts, feelings, or behavior. If you have an internal locus of control, you think completely differently. You don't necessarily believe that your life has been shaped by the past or by the environment or by other people. You actually believe that you're capable of shaping your destiny, that you can actually choose and decide how you want your life to develop. And so having an internal locus of control, which is a belief, doesn't exist, it's a belief, but having an internal locus of control and believing that you are actually sitting in the driving seat of your life, that you can actually decide how you're going to live your life is incredibly empowering. So if you have an external locus of control, you basically believe that your life was mapped out for you at birth and that the past equals the future. So you have a very fatalistic attitude towards life. And as such, you don't believe there's anything you can do because it's fate. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
People with an internal locus don't believe that the past equals the future. They don't believe that their destiny was mapped out at birth. They believe that they're creating their experiences on a daily basis.
And that they are in control. Whereas, you know, I had very low esteem, having gone through 19 years of domestic abuse. I had low esteem. I can remember feeling that. I was very much a people pleaser. I just thought, oh, everything will be better if I do what these people want me to do and all of that. And you don't have anything inside of you that builds you. So when you have that internal locus of control is when you are actually thriving, isn't it? That's really,
we don't actually have that much control over what's going on in the world around us. We don't decide what our childhood is going to be like. No. We don't decide what's going on in the environment. So we actually have very little control over what's going on in the world around us. What we are able to control is how we choose to respond. And I think that's the key, how we choose to respond to the experiences that we're having. That's right. That's where your power lies, I would say.
What I felt with counselling and what I felt with therapy was all they do was pick over the scabs of your past. And I would come out of those sessions even more depressed, and I would cry. I'd feel exhausted. I didn't feel empowered. I know what my past was. I didn't need to pick it over because what happened. And when the first collective meeting before you get going on your program, I remember you saying, okay, I know about you. You told me where you're at, and we're never talking about this again. We will never talk about this again. I thought, what a relief. I don't have to go through it all over and over again. What a relief. And you went, right, this is a clean sheet. We're starting again. And we did. And I don't know if you still do it, but with me, and at that time, you did this 1 to 10 scoring on your anxiety, your depression, your self.
Oh, yes.
You still do it?
No, what we have now, the program's moved on quite a bit since you did it, Marilyn. But what we have now is a really thorough self-assessment exercise, which our clients do just before they start working with us. And then they redo, it's a kind of quiz really, they redo it again when they've completed our work with us. So it's what we call the TQ report, where TQ stands for Thrive Quotient. So it's like a questionnaire that they complete at the beginning, and that gives us an indication as to how much they are thriving or not. Yeah. And then we use that to frame most of the sessions that we have, in fact. So although the program does come with a manual and with supportive videos and such like, what lies at the heart of many of the coaching sessions is this TQ report, where the client learns to understand what their scores mean and what it is they need to do to improve those scores. And that's how we measure success, because the report gives a really clear indication of what their mindset is like when we first meet them. And then when they redo the quiz, they're able to see just how much they've changed.
Because I can remember, if we go back to the old model, and obviously it's much more slick, and I don't like the word slick, but much more in today's world, obviously, more probably online stuff as well. Because other people, I don't think they realise, we did all my stuff on Zoom. Do you still do that?
Yeah.
That is so good for so many people. Because transport, if you've got people that are, because I actually had a little bit of, I was a bit agoraphobic as well when I first met you. So the fact I didn't have to buckle along on trains to get to you, that we could do this session online, was absolutely superb for me, because I just did it in of my own home.
Well, it's all about, you're absolutely right, but it's all about inclusivity. So I do see clients face to face at the clinic where I work in Cambridge, but I do see a lot of people online, and the idea is that all of us, all Thrive program coaches, have an international business. So we're seeing people throughout the whole world, and so we want to be able to help as many people as possible. So being able to offer the program online means that it doesn't matter where you are or where you live. If you've got access to the internet, we can help you. But you're also absolutely right. It's also about inclusivity, and that you don't have to worry about whether you can physically get to a clinic or not. As long as you can actually get online, we can help. Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary thing. It really is. I mean, I can still, as I say, I can still feel that, and people around me were saying after the second session, wow, you're beginning to check, crikey, you really are getting more confident. And because I've always had this thing that, everyone thinks I was confident, but it was a veneer. Underneath it, you only had to scratch it a bit and the vulnerable person would come out, but I don't feel like that anymore. I'm no longer. And I think there was only one time, and I can't remember, because I also had paranoia. And if you remember, and there was one time I particularly had it one bad day, and I said, this person's not, I don't know what it was, a collective thing of issues. And I remember you saying to me, well, you can't thrive every day. You will get when you are down, but not necessarily got a mental health issue again. You've got to be realistic that you might feel low sometimes. People do, And then I remember, really helpful, and I've used it ever since, when you said to me, okay, so this person has gone out, the car's not there, and you thought you were going to meet them, and now they're not there. Now you think you've gone down that spiral of, they don't like me, they're avoiding me, blah, 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 blah. And you said to me, you've got to be like a detective. You need to say to yourself, have they told you don't like you? No. Have they told you they were going out to avoid you? No. So maybe they were just busy and coming back, or maybe I went, hadn't thought about that. Well, that's about getting perspective. But I think you're absolutely right. Thriving isn't about feeling good all the time. It isn't about feeling joyful and blissful and happy all the time. It's about being accepting very much of who you are and what you're like and what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, and also being accepting of other people and the way that they are and the way that the world is. So it's much more about adjusting to reality, rather than, it's not about feeling positive all the time. It's not about feeling great all the time. It's about having a realistic attitude towards what you can expect of yourself and what you can expect of the world around you. And in that sense, it's a much more balanced and realistic attitude to develop. Yeah, because I find now, I'm also aware of my own triggers when I get like that. If I am to get like it, I recognize it, I identify it early. So I now underpin it with, it's happening again. And I cut through, and I maybe walk the dog, or I go for a walk, or I do something completely different to break that thought. And that's what that taught me to do, break that thinking. And you've got that in your backpack, haven't you? Because that's what you it's about skills. Thriving is a skill. Yes. You learn to thrive. And then once you've developed the skills, you just keep developing them. You just keep working on them. But the program's, the program's not anti-therapy. It's not counselling. It's just an alternative. We just think that people deserve an alternative.
That's
So
right.
if you haven't, therapy can be great and it helps lots and lots of people. But what if it doesn't work for you? What if you don't get on with it? I think people deserve an alternative, and I think coaching is that alternative, and certainly the Thrive program is.
Because what you're doing, basically, you are a life coach, really, aren't you? That's what it is. You're in a way, it's in an easy.
Yeah. There's basically like two main types of coaching. You've got executive coaching, leadership coaching, organizational coaching, and then you've got life coaching. But it's all life coaching because executives have got a life. So yeah, it's a shame that life coaching, I think, has quite a poor reputation, which is unfortunate because actually, what life coaches I think are interested in doing is just helping people to live a better life.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And that, which is a great thing to do, of course. I think what's different about the Thrive program, and we don't call it life coaching, but it's because it's a very structured psychological training program. So it's a structured process that the clients work through. We don't just get together and have a chat with our clients once a week. No. There's work to be done.
Oh, there is.
And attitudes to be developed and worked on over a period of time.
But that period of time isn't very long, is it? Really? I mean, how?
No, it's enough. It's enough time. It's enough time.
Yeah, because you don't.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. Do you ever find? Do you 6 to 8 weeks? Right. I had 6 at 90 minutes. What do you do? 8 1 hours? Is it 8 1 hour sessions?
Yeah, most of us see our clients once a week for 60 minutes a week. So our clients are only seeing us for 1 hour a week, but it's the work that the client does in between sessions which is critical. So that's why I was saying to you that actually it's what you did to get yourself thriving, because our clients don't see that much of us. It's what they do in between sessions. So right from the word go, our clients are encouraged to be autonomous, to be independent. So it's all about developing that strong sense of agency and actually believing that you are a self-determined individual who's more than capable of creating the life that you say you want. So one of the reasons why all coaching really is intended to be a short-term intervention. And the reason for that is because all coaches, I think it would be true to say, are very keen to empower the people they work with to believe that they are more than capable of helping themselves. Because the longer you see a coach, the more likely you are to end up depending upon them, which defeats the whole point, really. So everybody learns. Our coaches are learning to self-coach right from the word go. So you learn to self-coach. You learn to coach yourself. So the reason why you're still thriving now is because you've been coaching yourself using those same tools, those same strategies that you learned in the time that you had with me.
That is really weird because I hadn't thought of it like that. And every time myself are talking to, I don't think of it as that. And of course, that is what it is because it's
deeply ingrained.
I've got
it's deeply ingrained in your psychology now. That's the way your mind works now.
Yeah, it is. And I've learned to speak to myself with different questions. You have that internal conversation with yourself, and I sort myself out because I know I've got that toolkit in my backpack. I mean, so what sort of issues are your clients looking to overcome?
Well, it's a range of issues. I would say it's more or less low-grade mental health issues. We don't deal with severe mental health issues because we're not therapists, we're not counselors. But then again, we don't tend to attract those sorts of clients anyway. But we do have a strong code of ethics, so we're all well aware of what we can and what we cannot do for people. And we have boundaries, and we know the importance of referring clients on to more specialist practitioners if we're not able to help. But interestingly enough, most of the people that come to see us, we are able to help. So it'll be stress, anxiety, low mood, and such like. But like I say, the client doesn't want to see a therapist necessarily. They understand that therapy is an option, but they don't want that. So they've made the decision that they'd rather work with a coach. And we take them through the program. So although people can come to us with a wide range of issues, once they've started on the program, we don't tend to focus on those issues because we don't focus on symptoms or pathologizing the clients. We just want to get them thriving because thriving people don't have symptoms. So what they'll find is once they actually start to work through the program, they'll start to realize that their symptoms will start to diminish. So we don't actually have to tackle them as such or talk about them. We just teach them how to thrive.
And also, there's no medication. You're not
No.
medicating people. And having gone through the program, I came off all my medication. I came off without even going to the doctor. I knew you had to do it slowly, and I did it slowly and reduce, and I never went back on any of them. And all the doctors used to do was give you another prescription, put a plaster on it, give you another prescription. So what sort of, I mean, you said about addictions earlier, or we both did, but what about phobias? I mean, like I had agoraphobia as well when I came to see. What sort of phobias do you get? And what is the word phobia?
Well, we work with a lot of people who are phobic. There's one phobia in particular, which I think we treat more than anything else, which is emetophobia, which is a pathological fear of sickness. So that's either the individual fearing that they might be sick or fearing other people being sick, or a combination of the two. So within the Thrive program, we have a version of the Thrive program just for those with emetophobia. So that's the emetophobia-free program. So that comes with its own distinct manual, its own distinct TQ quiz, its own distinct support videos. So the program is more or less the same as the main program, but it's just tweaked to meet the needs of those with emetophobia. And I think it would be true to say that we've probably treated more emetophobes than anybody else in the world. So it's a program with a distinct emphasis on that particular condition. But any phobia, we can help really, because again, we don't focus on the phobia as such and the symptoms. It's about teaching people how to thrive. And most people who are phobic will have a very strong need to be in control of their experiences, but also have but feel out of control of their experiences. And the program is very good at reducing their desire for control, but teaching them to feel more powerful in relation to their experiences. So one of the things that quite a lot of phobias have in common is that what the individual fears is something which they can't control.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So when you're thriving, you don't fear the things you can't control because you know you can cope. So your fear goes away.
So when you say sickness, do you mean ill, or do you mean actual vomiting?
I mean vomiting, yes.
It's vomiting, right? So it's not a fear of catching flu.
No, it's not a fear of being ill as such. It is specifically a fear of vomiting.
Which, and that I believe that must impact women who want to get pregnant.
Most sufferers are women for all sorts of different reasons. We have treated quite a lot of men with emetophobia, but the majority of sufferers by far are women.
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, do you deal with, just out of interest, because I know with my own work, do you deal with eating disorders and harming and cutting and that sort of stuff?
We can do, but that's a really good example of where we would be very mindful as to whether we could help this particular client or not. So somebody who is severely anorexic, somebody who's bulimic, we would be very careful when meeting such a client, and we wouldn't take them on if we didn't believe that we could help them. So one of the problems is somebody's severely anorexic. I think it's unlikely that we'd be able to help them because they're so far down the line. But again, that's all to do with control and the individual, controlling not just their food intake, but controlling the people around them and such like. So because it's about control, like self-harming is all about control, controlling how you cut yourself or whether you cut yourself or burn yourself, when you cut, how deep the wounds are going to be, whether you show them to people or whether people can see them. So we can help with that. But I think we would need to make sure that the client is in the right frame of mind, as it were, to be able to benefit from the coaching.
Yeah, on a timeline, not too bad to totally serious. It's where you are on that timeline, really.
Yes. Yeah.
Which makes sense, because if you are severely traumatized and then yes, it's different. I remember talking to you. I thought somebody could come to you, but of course I hadn't thought it through because I'm not. That this was in fact a neurological condition, which was narcolepsy. This thing about feeling asleep all the time. And you said that's a neurological thing. We can't do that, and that made absolute sense.
Yeah,
So
we're very mindful. We're very mindful of what our limitations are as coaches, and we wouldn't. It's unethical to try and treat somebody when you know you can't. So, and at the end of the day, all we want is for the client to get better. And if referring somebody to a more skilled practitioner is the right thing to do, that's what we will do.
Because you could actually cause more harm, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not about us anyway. So, we're not helping people to make ourselves feel better. We're doing what we're doing in service of the client. So it's whatever's best for the client.
So do you go into organizations at all? Do you go into schools?
Well, we have the Thrive program in organizations. So we do go into organizations to get workforces thriving. And we go into schools as well. So we've worked with lots of schools and colleges as well, getting both the students and the staff thriving. We'd like to do a lot more of that. I think it'd be great to take the Thrive program into more schools, but also into prisons, pupil referral units, things like that. That would be great, because I think it's really about prevention more than cure. So getting kids thriving would mean that they would become thriving students, thriving employees, thriving parents, so that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing to do.
Do you ever go into the military?
No, we have explored working with the police force in the past, working with those with PTSD, and it would be great working with the military as well for that reason, or ex-service people or ex-uniformed service people, whether they're firefighters, police officers who have suffered trauma. I think we could do some wonderful work with them, but we haven't got enough staff. We haven't got enough. It's one of those things where we have to be very, very careful in terms of what we can do. But all of those things are, a portfolio of work that we would like to do for certain.
So how many Jameses are there?
Well, we've actually got 90 licensed Thrive program coaches at the moment, and a lot more are being trained as well. So that might sound like a lot, but when you think about the work that we would like to do, 90 practitioners is not very much at all, really. So, we are growing the business as quickly as we can, but we also need to be very careful about who we recruit to be a Thrive program coach. And interestingly enough, of those 90 Thrive program coaches, every one of them has been through the program.
Oh, wow.
Every one of them is an ex-client of ours who, having been through the program and seen the change that it's made to them, has made the decision that they want to be a Thrive program coach, helping people to learn what they learn. And I think that must be unique, to think that we've got an organization and a program where every single practitioner who's licensed to deliver that program has been through the program themselves. So everyone knows what it's like to be phobic or fearful or highly anxious, or to be a chronic worrier, or to be held back by perfectionism. They know because they've been there. So that strong sense of empathy and understanding, I think, is really important.
Absolutely. And I think because I think with anything that requires passion and commitment is the fact that it's the same like why I do my charity, because I've been in a situation, my children were abused. You have that passion and you yearn for more knowledge about it. And I think, because otherwise recruiting the right person must be really difficult.
It can be, but it's really important. It's really important that the coach is making the right decision as well, because it takes a year to train to be a Thrive program coach. You can get your license to practice after 6 months, and then you're under supervision and being mentored. So it's a huge commitment on their part to commit to the training, and then they have to build their own business, because we're all self-employed. We're all self-employed coaches, and the organization does offer a huge amount of support on developing a business plan, advertising, marketing, social media, all that kind of stuff. We do every Thrive program coach gets a huge amount of support. but they still have to go out there and get clients.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so they have
yeah.
to be really, really dedicated to wanting to make this their livelihood.
Well, it's the same thing with my work, because,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I've got the training courses. I can train the people up, and it's like it would be like a freelance thing with mine, really. But, you know, it falls on rocks when people realize they have to make their own database. And
Yes.
I said, I'm not going to feed you. You have to do it. And
Mm.
that's when it goes pear-shaped.
It's tough. It's tough being a
It is tough.
self-employed coach, because there's a lot of us out there. I mean,
Yeah,
LinkedIn must have thousands of coaches.
yeah, but not
Um,
everybody's the Thrive, you see. The
no,
Thrive,
so the Thrive program is unique. So there's only
it's
90
unique.
Thrive program coaches. So we have a program, we have a brand. So it's not just like hiring a life coach, you're hiring a Thrive program coach. So you know
So,
what you're getting, and what you're getting is a very specific experience.
so what inspired Rob Kelly to create this?
Well, Rob's been working in this area for many, many years now, and he trained to be a therapist and worked for about 25 years as a therapist. And it just so happened that he developed a reputation for helping emetophobes. So
Oh,
he's treated thousands and thousands of them. But over a period of time, he realized that there was a pattern beginning to emerge with these particular clients in terms of their language, their thinking styles, and so on, their belief systems. And so he started to do some research, because he realized that there was a pattern emerging. And then he realized that these ways of thinking had a name, that these belief systems had a name. So he was very excited when he discovered locus of control as a concept, because
oh,
he then realized that all of his clients had an external locus of control, and he'd never heard of that before. But when you realize that it was a belief system that people have, then you realize, gosh, all of my clients have an external locus of control. They're all massive perfectionists, you know, they're all black and white thinkers. They've all got poor coping skills. They've all got self-esteem issues, and they lack social confidence. So what he realized is that this pattern began to emerge. And then over a number of years, he developed what became the Thrive program as a program to address these issues. So over a period of about two to 3 years, he gradually jettisoned the therapy that he was doing, and then replaced it gradually with the Thrive program. So I first met Rob at that point when he was just starting the Thrive program. So this would be about 12, 13 years ago.
yeah.
And the program's been developing ever since. So the program is actually based on Rob Kelly's personal experience
Wow.
of working with thousands and thousands of people and listening to their stories and paying attention to their language and to their mindset. So it's not an academic program. It hasn't developed out of Rob academically studying psychology. It develops from Rob studying his clients and paying
Yeah,
attention to his clients. So
yeah,
it's based on his personal experience.
yeah. And that's often the best way. I think that's the best way you can be completely. I know you used to be a lecturer, didn't you, at Cambridge
Yeah.
University? I'm actually knocking academia here, but I think it's so simple to understand the program.
Yeah, it is, but also the program is evidence-based. So like I was saying,
It,
Rob became fascinated by his clients' experiences, but wanted
yeah,
to know what was going on. So he did the research and he did the reading.
yes,
And if you buy the Thrive program manual, you'll realize that it is what we do is evidence-based, and there are references to dozens and dozens and dozens of peer-reviewed academic papers that support what it is we're doing. So it's really important to stress that it is an evidence-based program. We've
yeah.
found the evidence that actually kind of
You're absolutely right.
justifies, yeah.
That it's not quacky. It's not sort of like,
No,
ooh.
there's plenty of science. There's plenty of really,
There,
really
there
good science.
absolutely is. So
Yeah.
how many people do you think have been through it? So I thought it was 15 years ago. So what I would, if it must have been 13 years ago, just as you were starting then.
Yeah, you were one of my first clients. I mean, literally thousands of people have been through the program.
Wow. So if you say it's 6 to 8 weeks, and I did my day, would you, if somebody gets to 8 weeks, say, and they haven't made the grade, you don't take an exam, it's just that your scoring is hopefully improved. Would you take them on for another 2 or 3 weeks, or do you say this isn't working for you?
No. We would keep working with them. So the idea of 6 to 8 weeks is an expectation, but it's not a rule. It's not a law. It's just a guideline, so that the client understands what's expected of them. So I think it's really important in coaching that when you first meet the client, that you discuss expectations, you know, the boundaries, how we're going to work together, making sure that they understand what coaching is and that this coaching approach is the right thing for them. So we're assessing the suitability of the client for the program, and we need to make sure that it's a good match. So that's the first thing. And right from the word go, the client understands that they are being encouraged to be self-determined and autonomous.
Yeah.
That we want them to be able to fly solo as soon as possible, and we anticipate that that will be within 6 to 8 weeks. So that's a suggestion, if you like. That's the expectation, and of course that settles into their mind, so they realize that this is what's going to happen. But of course we do say to clients that, you know, we won't complete our work together until we agree, because it's all negotiable, until we agree that you're ready to be able to start doing this on your own. That doesn't mean that you're going to be absolutely thriving, but you know enough to be able to take this forward. So again, it's negotiable. And when we get to the end of that, say, 8-week period, we don't just sign them off. We encourage them to go away and to continue to put into practice what they've learned, but independently of us, to prove to themselves that they can do this. And then we have a catch-up session. So I might have 2 or 3 catch-up sessions after we've finished our work together. And so we don't finish our work together until we agree that they know enough. So it is like passing your driving test. I mean, as you know, nobody is an expert on driving when they pass their driving test. In actual fact, they're incredibly inexperienced and probably really quite scared of driving. But they have their driving license, right? They're legally allowed to drive. The expertise comes afterwards. It comes in those weeks and months and years of constant practicing your driving, but you haven't got a driving instructor sitting in the back seat. You know enough to do this. So thriving is like that. It's like, you know, once you've completed the program, you're a rookie thriver. You're a newly qualified thriver. You're like a motorist that's just passed your driving test.
Yeah.
A little bit fearful, a little bit apprehensive, but you know enough, right? So we encourage them to then go and put into action what they've learned. And actually, they very often realize that they know enough to be able to do this.
It is that I can remember feeling like that. It is that feeling of, oh my golly, you know, where's James? He's not here. But I also think it's like osmosis. It's like evolution, that, you know, you do find yourself growing. You do think, you know, I found myself like almost like I got this far and I actually thought, wow, I could still feel myself, if you like, blooming and still sort of very much what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, blooming, I suppose, really, like flowering. I still can't.
Yeah, that's why it's called thriving. It's like you're thriving. It's like a plant.
My light's gone out here.
It's like a plant thriving. Yeah,
it is. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So, James, you have been amazing. You are amazing. Rob Kelly is amazing. So, how do people who watch this program and want to learn more, how can they find you?
Well, I think the best thing to do is to log on and have a look at the Thrive program website. So that's www.thriveprogram.org. And by visiting the Thrive program website, you will find everything that you need to know about the program, including, you know, access to the 90 Thrive program coaches that I told you about, because there's a gallery of all of the Thrive program coaches who are in business looking to work for people. But yeah, and check out our success stories as well, because we have loads and loads and loads of video testimonials. We have the Thrive program YouTube channel, which is great. The Thrive program, a metaphobia free YouTube channel. We're on Spotify. So, you know,
My
just
goodness.
search the Thrive program and you will find testimonials and interviews with people whose lives have been changed by this program.
Somewhere on there is mine, because I know I remember.
Yes, yours is there somewhere.
It's there somewhere, but my golly, how you've grown, and may it last and go from bigger to greater and even better. So James, I can't thank you enough. I thank you personally for, I know you say it was just, I don't feel it was me. I feel it was this, I never was aware that it was me, but all I do know is you and the Thrive program changed my life. And that is why I'm here today with no medication. I never needed it. And yeah, I always say I am at my best, better than I ever was at any point in my life. And that's all down to the Thrive program.
You're thriving, Marilyn.
So, you know, I really hope people listen to tune, and I'm going to be belting this out on social media, and you can do the same.
Fantastic.
So, James, I thank you with all my heart, and there's going to be a lot more people that are going to learn from this, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show.
Excellent,
so please give my love to Rob, and
I will do.
And when you get this, it's all yours to use as you wish.
Thank you very much, Marilyn, and thanks very much for the interview. You take care. Thanks very much.
Welcome. Well, there we go. There was James Woodworth, and I didn't mind sharing with you my story either, because it's really important. Suffering with anxiety, depression, mental health, and that, so it is just so soul destroying. And you know, I think there's a huge difference between being a survivor, which is not the same thing as being a thriver. With a thriver, you're bouncing back. A survivor, you're just bouncing along the bottom. So please think about it if you're in that position. So I am going to sign off now as Marilyn Hawes with Heart and Soul, working with Unprecedented TV. And later on, I think my next lady coming on is working with the Family Education Trust, with whom I also have a lot of respect. They've done a lot of work on looking into the issues of county lines and the exploitation of young girls and boys across the different counties. I've got their book, and a lady's coming on to talk about that. So I wish you well. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.